Renting versus buying a house in 2026. I'm Dave Holland, licensed mortgage and real estate broker, 25 years in the business, and I'm going to tell you something a mortgage guy is not supposed to say on camera. Sometimes renting is the right call. Look, I make money when you buy a house. So when I tell you that a $500,000 home purchase can lose you money if you sell in 3 years, understand I have every financial incentive to keep my mouth shut about that. But you deserve the real math. So here's the deal. I'm gonna break it out for you, and by the end of this video, you're gonna know exactly which side of this you belong on. Kill the phrase, renting is throwing away money. You've heard that before plenty of times, so let's start here because this is the single dumbest thing in personal finance and everybody repeats it like it's scripture. When you rent, you pay for shelter. You get shelter. That's a transaction. Nothing's really thrown away. Now here's the part that nobody mentions. When you own, you also throw away money every single month. Property taxes, gone. Homeowners insurance, gone. HOA, gone. Maintenance, gone. And the big one is mortgage interest. In year one of a $500,000 purchase, roughly 90% of your payment goes to interest, not principal. That's rent. You're just renting money from a bank instead of renting drywall from a landlord. So the real question is not, am I throwing away money? The real question is, which form of throwing money away leaves me better off in 5 years, right? That's the name of the game. So the real number, your break-even point. Here's where it gets useful. Buying a house has enormous transaction costs on both ends. Closing costs to buy, roughly 2 to 5% of the purchase price. Selling costs when you get ready to sell, roughly 6 to 8% when you count commissions, transfer taxes, and concessions. So on a $500,000 house, you're looking at somewhere between $15,000 to buy and $35,000 to sell. That's $50,000 you have to earn back before you even break even. $50,000. So how do you earn it back? 2 ways. So principal pay down, which is slow at first, and appreciation, which is not guaranteed. So at 3% annual appreciation, a $500,000 house gains about $15,000 in 1 year. Add maybe $6,000 of principal pay down. So you're netting around $21,000 a year against a $50,000 hole. So do the math. You need roughly 2.5 to 3 years to break even, and that assumes appreciation cooperates with us. That's why you hear the 5-year rule. If you're not staying in the house 5 years, the math gets ugly pretty fast. If you're staying 7, 10, 20 years, buying wins almost every single time. The test nobody runs, price to rent ratio. Here's a tool that most buyers have never heard of. Take the purchase price of the home and divide it by the annual rent for a comparable property. Say that $500,000 house would rent for $3,000 a month. That's 36 grand a year. 500,000 divided by 36,000 is 13.9. Under 15, buying generally makes financial sense. Between 15 and 20, it's a coin flip. Depends heavily on how long you stay. That's the name of the game, is how long are you actually going to stay in that property or rent it out. Over 20, renting is usually the smarter play and invest the difference. In San Diego, we're often north of 20, and that's real. It doesn't mean you don't buy here. It just means that you know what you're buying and what you're getting into and why. What does renting actually get you? So I spent this whole video being fair to renting, so let me be fair with buying. Renting has one thing that quietly wrecked you over 20 years, and it's this. Your rent goes up forever and ever and ever, every year. The landlord wants to make money. So my clients who bought in 2015 have a fixed principal and interest payment. That's not moved a single dollar. Their neighbors who rented the identical house are paying 60, 70% more than what they were a decade ago. So a 30-year fixed mortgage is one of the only products in American economy where you can lock in the cost of your living for 3 decades while everything around you inflates. So that's not a small thing. That's a hedge on your own future. So that's where buying makes sense. And you're building equity while you do it. Slowly at first, then faster. Around year 8 to 10, more of your payment goes to principal and interest, and compounding starts working for you instead of against you. So it gets much better. So which one are you? Here's how I'd sort it out if you were my friend sitting across from me right now. Rent if you're gonna move within the next 3 to 5 years, or if you think that you can not rent the property out for positive cash flow. Rent if your job situation is unstable. Rent if you'd be draining your entire savings for a down payment with nothing left over for the water heater that's absolutely gonna break in month 4. Rent if the price to rent ratio in your market is over 20 and you have the discipline to invest the difference. Discipline to invest the difference, keywords. Most people say that they'll invest the difference, but most people don't. Buy if you're staying 5+ years. Buy if you have the reserves after closing. Buy if your income is stable. Buy if you want a fixed housing cost or you want to rent the property out later. Buy if you want to stop asking permission to paint a flower on your wall. The bottom line, the rent versus buy answer, it's not universal. It's personal, and we have to dig into it for you. Depends on your timeline, your reserves, your local price to rent ratio, where you want to live, schools, job stability. Anyone who tells you that buying is always better is just trying to sell you something. Anyone that tells you renting is always smarter has never watched a fixed mortgage payment beat 20 years of rent increases. So run your own numbers, or worst case scenario, get on a call with me. We'll run them together. It costs you nothing. I'll give you the straight scoop. You'll make a friend in the mortgage business. The link is in the description. I'd love to check it out with you. Subscribe if you thought this was useful.